2 of the impeachment Senate trial. And if you're like me, who have read the Federalist Papers, who are aware of the CRS Library of Congress reports, it's the Congressional Research Service Library of Congress documents that are actually prepared for Congress, that explains the impeachment process, it explains the obstruction of congressional proceeding, federal laws. It basically will give you just everything you need to know about the U.S. government, and it's actually documents that are prepared for Congress. There are a lot of documents, some of them are 87 pages, some of them are 57 pages, some are 17 pages. I mean, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of things to read, it's a lot of studying. It has no entertainment value to it whatsoever, so it's probably why Congress hasn't bothered to read it. Sorry, that's how our Congress is right now. So, Federalist 65 is the letter of the Founding Fathers, Alexander Hamilton, that actually explains the impeachment process. And you're going to find that what he talks about here is going to sound like he had an actual crystal ball. So I'm just going to go ahead and read the letter for you. And then when we get to parts that I'm like, wait a minute, how'd they know? You're going to see a parallel between what's happening today and what they were talking about could happen, because our Founding Fathers were incredibly smart. Whenever they created the USA, they had anticipated all the things that could go wrong because they saw it happen in history. They knew world history, they knew their immediate history, they knew just how the human condition of people are. So, Federalist 65, the remaining powers which the plan of the convention allot to the Senate, and I'm going to skip to, a well-constituted court for the trial of impeachment is an object not more to be desired than difficult to be obtained in a government wholly elective. The subjects of his jurisdiction are these offenses which proceed from the misconduct of public men, or in other words, from the abuse or violation of some public trust. And we've talked about, if you've been following the podcast of over on SoundCloud, you'll see from the other letters, they talked about how people, I think it was Federalist 6 by John Jay, how people who are entrusted with public stewardship, people who put trust into these figures to lead the country in the right direction, how they can lead the country astray. So that's what they're talking about here. In other words, from the abuse or violation of some public trust. They are of a nature which may, with peculiar propriety, be denominated political, as they relate chiefly to injuries done immediately to society itself. The prosecution of them for this reason will seldom fail to agitate the passions of the whole community. So if you have people who are looking to hurt the country, they're often going to look at things that are going to drive up an emotional, intense, ooh, how dare they kind of feel to it. And to divide into parties more or less friendly or inimical to the accused. So you're going to have people that's going to divide our nation into these factions and going to put one people against the other people, such as this whole idea of left versus right that we are seeing right now. These guys back in 1700s said that this could happen, and we're seeing it today. In many cases, it will be less friendly, in many cases, it will connect itself to pre-existing factions and will enlist all their animosities, partialities, influence, and interest on one side or the other. And in such cases, there will always be the greatest danger that the decision will be regulated more by the comparative strength of parties than by the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. So what that means, and what I'm seeing personally, when I'm looking at the U.S. government and what's happening today in our political circus of parties, I'm so annoyed by political parties right now, that we're starting to see these factions form where we have a corporate faction. We have a political religious faction, and it's almost like a political religious cult of oil. We have a Tea Party faction that said that the U.S. government was about anti-federal government, which is not true. The Boston Tea Party was about a bunch of Americans who dressed up and was protesting a foreign government gouging the U.S. taxpayers, and those taxpayers saw no benefits for those taxes. Exactly what we're seeing now, when we're using our taxes to build foreign factories that are then given a tax exemption, saying you don't need to pay taxes to the USA. So our taxes are building these factories. We're not going to see benefit of them because the foreign factories are then supported by foreign investors, and that money is going to go outside of the country. So we are back at pre-revolutionary conditions right now. And they said, that's what's going to happen. That's what these founding fathers said in these letters, is if these things follow this pattern, or if this happens, this is what we're going to see. They were smart. The men who created our country were extremely smart. They anticipated all of this, and they made sure that our country was made so it could not happen. So all the stuff that we're hearing right now, all the stuff that's happening in our Senate trials, all the manipulation and the gaslighting and the political circus that's happening right now, that's turning everything into elections, is wrong. Impeachment is not elections. Impeachment is the sole opportunity for the country to stop abuse of power, especially at the very top, the president. When the president abuses his power and his position, then he does not get to be president anymore. And that's what impeachment is about. It's not about stupid political parties on who wins. That's not what impeachment is about. And that's what it's got turned into. In the Senate trial that's happening right now, the rules that are being manipulated, those Senate rules are illegal. You cannot use votes to witness tamper. That is illegal. It's 18 U.S.C. 1512. It is a federal crime. And if Congress actually understood our federal laws, if they actually understood their role in Congress, if they actually understood all these things and their power as a sovereignty of our nation, they would be first to file contempt charges against this blatant manipulation of an impeachment process by using these Ponzi scam lawyer tricks. And what are the Ponzi scam lawyer tricks? Well, they are lie by omission. They are manipulation of U.S. courts or any kind of courts or any kind of procedures. They are smears, a smear campaign. They are moving the goalpost, which means that you change the time frames of something, and often it means that you force somebody to make a very fast decision so there's no time to really think about it. That is happening right now. That is a Ponzi scam lawyer trick used to get off and fraudulent investors. That is happening right now in our impeachment trial, a trial that is about impeachment, that is about getting rid of somebody who is abusing their power. And I say anybody who is using their position to divide America, to put American against American, should not be president of the United States. They have abused that right. And the people that serve the president are serving the role, a role of 200 years plus, not the man. Trump is not a king, and you need to get that through your head. You serve the role of POTUS. And when somebody is not able to handle that role, whenever they do not give respect and honor and duty to that role or to the people of America as a whole, it is not about winning a stupid political party contest. Our entire government has been completely corrupted by this idea of political parties. I frankly would like to see the whole thing gone. We don't need political parties in order to nominate people to represent us in our district, and we certainly don't need it to nominate people to represent us in their states. And maybe if we got rid of the political parties, the people in the states and the districts would be represented and not the stupid party. I know I'm not alone in this, and I am done with the gaslighting. I'm done with the political reality stars. I'm done with the propaganda. I'm done with the illusions. I'm done with the blatant ignorance of law. I'm done. And so if you are a smart American and you are also done, then we follow the rules or the instructions of James Madison on removing factions. And we extend that sphere of knowledge. We increase it with more interest and more parties and more people getting involved. We study those laws. We study the congressional research reports in the Library of Congress. They're not hard to find. They're all online. We study these things. We learn what the impeachment process is. We learn what the federal laws are. We learn what the obstruction the federal of a congressional proceeding is. That's 18 U.S.C. 1505. And if you look under the CRS reports, it will give you an 87-page or maybe a 57-page document that explains every single federal law involved with an obstruction of a congressional proceeding, which is what the impeachment process is. It's Congress has sole jurisdiction. You're saying, oh, why does the Chief Justice get involved? Well, he can't. It is not his jurisdiction. He's not allowed. All he can do is watch over it. Congress is supposed to be the one who steps in and files the contempt charges. And if they can't do their job, then we have 50 state AGs who can get them to do their job. And they can start filing charges. complaints, whatever it takes, because that is the fail-safe method. When the federal government ignores the rules and they start doing exactly what they said in Federalist 65, then it becomes the state governments, and that's in Federalist 28. The state governments have the power then to intercede and stop a federal usurpation. That's how it works, because the founding fathers were smart and they saw this coming.